Welcome to the Dan Casper Show podcast, your chance to catch the full show anytime, anywhere. If you missed it live on the radio, no worries. We've got you covered with all the sports talk, opinions, interviews, and conversations from the show. From the Packers to the Brewers to the biggest stories in sports and around Wisconsin, it's all right here. This is the Dan Casper Show podcast. All right, here we go. Second hour kicks off right now on this Wednesday morning. What up, everybody? Thanks for hanging out and making us a part of your starts. Whether you are listening on the radio dials, 105.1 FM, 790 AM. Maybe you're streaming us up online at sportstalk1051.com. You got the video stream up and rolling, Facebook, YouTube. Also, you can download the app, Wisco Sports app. Take a listen on there, the Alexa devices too. So multiple ways for you to be tuning in. We got that Shoe Doctors bullpen line. You can hit us up with some messages, 715-830-1912, or hang out in the Section 105 chats on our video stream. Coming up in about an hour, we'll chat with Ty from Slab Factory in our bi-weekly chat. A little bit about the hobby. Always a good conversation with Ty, so looking forward to that. And as a reminder, all right, as a reminder here too, that if you miss a portion of that conversation or you miss that conversation, our chats with Ty are always available on the Man Cave podcast. So don't forget to follow, subscribe to the Man Cave podcast. We've been increasing in our listens and downloads, so I can't thank you all enough. I can't thank you all enough for that. Let's keep her up. Now, if you can continue to give us some 5-star ratings and a positive review, or even just a review, if you want to give like a recipe to your grandma's favorite cookies or something like that, hey, that just helps the algorithms, all right? It spreads them out, okay? Just go ahead and do that. But anyways, that's like on Apple and Spotify. So, but that'll be coming up in about an hour. It is a What If Wednesday. So, hey, if you got any good sports what ifs, I mean, you could say we were talking Brewers last hour. What if Cooper Pratt stayed in the game? Would that have made the difference? I don't know, but that's a what if. What are we doing here? Can look at the college world for that one, right? Man, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? So hit me up. I want to hear. There's no right or wrong answer in this thing. So. Packers-wise, we've got training camp essentially wrapping up today. It's joint practice time. Joint practice with the Arizona Cardinals. And you're starting to see this trend, right? You're starting to see this trend of teams doing this more and more, and really teams taking more out of these joint practices than really anything. I mean, more so than preseason games. I know there's been some talk out there. Could that be, potentially a change? Could that potentially, where you see teams do more joint practices and no preseason games? Yeah, I don't know. Never say never again. I would never say never, but we still eat up a lot of preseason tickets, especially if you're Packers fans. But that's why we're not going to see Jordan Love. We're not going to see some of the starters play on Friday because of this joint practice today. So that's where I'll be curious to follow along with a lot of the updates and kind of taking a look at who's kind of balling out and maybe who's having a little bit of a rough time at camp. So kind of our last impression for some of these players, not necessarily the bottom of I shouldn't say bottom of the roster. It's not necessarily the last impression for these guys that are maybe on that roster bubble. But if they could go out there today and make some plays and go out there and ball out, it's going to improve their chances. Maybe one of those wide receivers like a Shepard or whomever. Strong at running back. I look at it for these guys who are out. I look at it twofold, really, for this team going up against the Cardinals in this joint practice. One, from the starters, this is going to be really kind of your last good work before the regular season begins. And you have an opportunity to do it against a different opponent. And the fact, too, remember, Matt LaFleur said a little bit earlier this week that it might be open up the playbook just a little bit because he trusts his brother that they're not going to go out there and leak that film to other teams. So I look at it from a starter's point of view, like this is going to be some good work that you could be able to go out there, maybe do some plays that you normally wouldn't do, that you'd kind of wait for the regular season, get some work in on that, get some practice in on that. So I want these starters for Green Bay to come in today with that approach, like, hey, this is kind of our main final tune-up before you get into the regular season schedule. You got to come in super focused, ready to go. Put in some quality work today. Don't get hurt. That's probably the main thing, right? We don't want anybody getting hurt. But you got to put in some quality work from the starters. It's kind of your final tune-up before, again, getting ready for that practice or that trade or regular season schedule. And then, those guys that are maybe hovering on that line, that cut line, those tough decision guys. We talked a lot about the wide receivers. Use this as another opportunity. Your opportunities are running out. You got 2 more chances to make a name for yourself. Maybe not necessarily for the Packers, but hey, you got another team that's coming in here. Maybe impress them. Talking about the Shepherds, talking about the Strongs, talking about some of these other guys. That it's a numbers game here, and I truthfully believe that there's going to be a couple players that this Packers team, if they put them on waivers, they've got a shot to be picked up by another team on waivers. And it might be one of those wide receivers. Or maybe they'll find their way back on the practice squad for the Packers. That's probably what Green Bay's really hoping for, but it's definitely a risk. Cutdown day, by the way, is the NFL roster cutdown day to establish the final 53 is on Sunday. Sunday by 6 p.m. 6 p.m. So it's going to be just a couple days right after that final preseason game. So looking at NFL.com does have a list of cut cash trade targets. And when you look at, Green Bay's not listed on here as potentially trading anybody, but you kind of look at it as like, okay, is there somebody out there that maybe Green Bay could possibly look at? You looking at cornerbacks, right? Maybe a running back here or there. For the Chiefs, they listed Christian Fulton. NFL.com says, I don't think general manager Brett Veach will outright cut Fulton, who was solid in 8 games last season. But if I was a team needing a corner help, I'd inquire about a trade. Just kind of looking at some maybe other options out there. I forgot Andy Dalton was with the Eagles now. Ooh. But, I do think we're going to see some trades. Maybe not necessarily by the Packers, but we've seen it the last couple of years. And we've started to see a couple more. I know the Patriots and Texas just made a trade. But we're going to start to see, I think, in the next few days here, before that deadline, before that cutdown day, we're going to see some trades. And a lot of it, I think, is because we've seen those moves based off the rule change that happened a few years ago where, remember, there was 2 cutdown days? And it really never made sense when you think about it. And I know Goody talked about it last week when I was there at his presser. From a front office standpoint, from a team standpoint, why have cutdowns heading into the final game of the preseason? And then you're almost kind of forced to play guys that you don't want to play maybe in that final preseason game. That final preseason game should be mostly for those guys that aren't probably going to make the team or still have a shot to make an impression. So I like the fact that there's just one cutdown day, too. It helps teams out in that aspect as well. But that rule also kind of boosted up some potential trades, because now, all right, teams might now want to take a chance on not getting that guy on, waiting for him to see if he goes on waivers, and then you put a waiver claim on him, but then, sorry, somebody else picked him up and they were higher up on the priority list. A la Green Bay sending a 7th-round pick from Malik Willis. So there's that example from Green Bay from a couple of years ago. Could have waited to see. Malik was probably going to be released by the Titans that year, but Green Bay wanted to ensure themselves that they were going to get him, so they sent a 7th-round pick. We've seen more of that the last few years. I could potentially see that happening here for some teams. Not necessarily Green Bay, but you got the Joey Porter stuff out there. You got the Josh Sweat stuff out there. I don't know. I don't necessarily see it happening. Would they be great fits? Oh, heck yes. And if it happens, I would be ecstatic. As a Packers fan, I would be ecstatic. Love it. Would love it. First of all, they don't have a first-round pick next year. So not saying that they would use a first-round pick for either one of these guys, but would they be willing to trade from a quote-unquote loaded 2027 draft when they already don't have a first-round pick? Would they be willing to shell out more picks from that draft to acquire some of these guys? That's the unknown. It's easy for us to say, yeah, look at the Rams. Screw them picks, right? I don't know if Green Bay is going to operate that way. And it sounds like Joey Porter Jr., if you're going to acquire him, you're going to have to lock him up to a big deal, a long-term contract. Corner is definitely a need. There's no question about it. And CBS Sports, they did list Green Bay as a potential target, possible landing spot if Joey Porter Jr. is in fact traded. Says yet another NFC team with high expectations that is looking to separate itself from the pack. The Packers showed last year that they are willing to swing big when they traded for Parsons. It's worth wondering whether Green Bay is considering a similar move now to add another notable player to its defense. Like the Steelers, the Packers are a franchise that measures itself only by championships. After falling short in the playoffs once again in 25, the Packers are desperate to make a serious push in 26. That's why the Packers should be considered as a legitimate landing spot if Porter ends up on the trading block. If you had to pick between Sweat and Joey Porter Jr., who would you rather go out there and get? It's probably Porter Jr., right? You establish, you get a corner, it's him, and Brandon Cisse as your two starters. You probably feel a lot better about that. The Sweat connection with Jonathan Gannon makes a ton of success, or a ton of sense. They're so familiar with each other. And then you factor in oh, man, Sweat, Micah Parsons, Van Ness. You're probably thinking about those Phillies teams with all those edge rushers or that defensive line. It's hard not to get excited about it. I don't know if it fits numbers-wise. I don't know if that's going to work. Jared says, I agree with you about the Packers trade for Joey Porter Jr., that would be absolutely insane, but I don't know if we would really want to sign him to a long-term contract like you're saying. And I did see some people say, could he be potentially the highest paid corner in the league? And you could say, well, he's not the best one, so why would he be the highest paid? We go through this with quarterbacks. It's how you reset the market, right? It's how you set the market. It's a timing thing. Are you heading into free agency when the cornerback or when the market is exploding? And Joey Porter Jr., yeah, he's getting there. It's like quarterbacks. It's not necessarily the best quarterback is the highest paid quarterback, whether it's total value or guaranteed money or average per year. Well, when you hit that market. And that's the case here with Porter Jr. I'd love it. I would love it if he suited up in the green and gold. I don't know. I don't know if Green Bay is willing to pay that price, both in trade comp and maybe even financial. Really quick, Pro Football Focus just came out with their defensive grades. Green Bay, 11. Oh, no, excuse me, linebacker unit rankings. My bad. 11th. San Francisco's 1, Philly's 2, Houston's 3, Seattle's 4, Chicago's 5, with the addition of Devin Bush. And then you got TJ Edwards. Jets 6, Miami 7, Detroit 8, Baltimore 9, Carolina 10, Green Bay 11. Edgerrin Cooper has impressed since arriving in the NFL, notching PFF grades above 75 in his first 2 years, while his grade dropped from an 85.6 as a rookie to a 75.8 last year. It's worth pointing out that it came on a sample size that was almost double of that his first year. The fact that he was still strong and a much bigger role is important. Zaire Franklin is expected to start next to him after a trade from the Colts. He's coming off of a career-low 38 PFF grade last season, but did record PFF grades above 60 the 2 seasons prior. If Franklin can get back to that level, then he is perfectly adequate partner for Cooper. All right. We got to take a quick break. Back with more Packers chat coming up in just a little bit. School is back in session. Well, for some of you, the rest of you, probably next week or so, like my kiddo. And, well, that means the house may be a little bit quieter, about to get a little quieter. But after the summer of kids, pets, muddy shoes, sports equipment, and everything else that comes with a busy family, your floors, they might be ready for a fresh start as well. This back-to-school season, give your home an upgrade with Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire. Hey, whether you're looking for some new carpet or maybe some luxury vinyl planks like the Rigid Max flooring, Carpet City Flooring Center has options for every room, every style, and every budget. So while the kids are back in the classroom, take a little time for your home. Stop by Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire and let their flooring experts help you find the perfect look for your space. Carpet City Flooring Center, helping you put your best floor forward. You can visit them in Eau Claire today and get your back-to-school home makeover started. Continuing to chat a little green and gold, Packers-wise, we've got joint practice today with the Cardinals, essentially the end of training camp because we've got the final preseason game coming up on Friday, and then roster cuts due by 6 p.m. on Sunday. With joint practice, and this is probably going to be the final good work for the starters, a lot of the starters like Jordan Love, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What are some of the biggest things you're going to be kind of following and taking away from joint practice today, Joe?
Well, you're looking at Aaron Banks' health. I think that's one of the first things to see is whether or not he's going to be able to go consecutive days. He has been on a restricted schedule because of the problems with the knee, and so I want to see if he's going to be healthy. I'd like to see Josh Jacobs lather up a little bit because he has not had a lot of time during this camp to kind of get his wheels going, so to speak. And again, obviously still a big question mark with Josh Jacobs' availability with the season coming up. Also want to see the defensive line rotation. I think what once started as a weakness or looked like a weakness, I think Green Bay has found surprising depth now on that defensive line. And they're playing from a position of strength now. You've got a Hargrave, you've got McClellan, you've got Wyatt, you've got Brinson, you've got Ford, you've got Brooks, you've got Anthony Campbell there. So I think you're playing from a position of depth, and you might be able to move one of those guys if you need help elsewhere. And so look at it just the depth chart and where is, for example, where's a Dennis Sutton in the depth chart. So I just want to see who's running with the ones, who's running with the twos, and then who's running with the threes, because that's going to be telltale as we head towards cutdown day.
Has there been, you kind of mentioned one already, has there been a position group or player that throughout this training camp, preseason, that has maybe surprised you, impressed you, and then on the flip side, maybe kind of disappointed you, maybe you had high expectations for them coming in and really hasn't lived up to those expectations?
I think Brandon Cisse has really stepped up, and again, second-round pick. The expectations were high for him going in, but I think I'm surprised by how the game's not too big for him. And so I think from that standpoint, I've been impressed. Carrington Valentine on the flip side, it just seems like he continues. Again, he's been battling some injuries, but it just seems also that there's some regression there from him. And again, I had high hopes for him over the last couple of years, and it just seems he continues to maybe take a step back. I've also really been intrigued and interested in how much of a leadership position Zaire Franklin has stepped into. And again, whether it be promoting the new Packer rivalry clothing or just being outspoken in practice, Green Bay has really leaned on him. And I think that's interesting to see from a standpoint of just, going into this season. And again, all eyes are still on Marshawn Lloyd and what is he going to do? So, I think that defensive backfield, again, Brandon Cisse, I think has impressed the most. Carrington Valentine probably disappointed the most.
Looking at the offensive line, we know who the tackles are going to be, Morgan, Zebach, and we know the center was Sean Ryan. Jacob Monk has been getting a ton of reps with the ones. You mentioned Banks a little bit earlier. You got Burton over there. There's been some talk like, do you just start Burton and take your lumps with him because he's a rookie, or do you go with Jacob Monk, who has been with the team for the last couple of years, but obviously is making a huge jump this year, huge strides, and is getting those reps with those ones?
I think Burton has a higher ceiling, but if I'm Green Bay's coaches, if I'm Butkus and that coaching staff, I probably go with Jacob Monk just because I know what I have there. And so, again, Jager Burton, I think, does have that bigger ceiling. And he certainly needs to get stronger. But I think you're saying, we've seen Monk. He's grown in this system. So if it's between the two of them, I probably lean towards Monk.
Looking at the wide receiving group, that's obviously been a depth or a group that is being talked a lot about here as of late. Could the Packers potentially carry 7 wide receivers? I think a lot of it's just going to be a numbers game depending on other positions and how they figure it out. But could you see a scenario where Green Bay carries 7? Is there one in particular that kind of stands out from the rest of the group?
Yeah, you could always, especially with moving parts early in the season and the pup squad. And obviously, counting him through, Goldman's a lock, obviously. Christian Watson, Savion Williams, Jaden Reed. I think Sky Moore is a lock at this point. Bo Melton is a lock at this point. And then you got a couple of guys. You have Will Shepard, obviously, who showed a lot against Denver. You have Michael Sturdivant. And so he has shown some things. Even Isaiah Nayor has shown some things. Early on in the season, I think the roster has to be fluid. And you've got, again, the pup situation with some players, and so you might be carrying an extra position. I think a big question mark, though, when you look at the roster breakdown, is what do they do at the tight end position? Because you could keep 7 wide receivers, but you have some big-time question marks behind Tucker Kraft at the tight end position. Again, Josh Wiley looks like right now he is your number 2 tight end. Luke Musgrave has not practiced yet, and I don't know if he will. I don't know if Luke Musgrave is going to be a Green Bay Packer come the regular season. And so I think Green Bay has to make some moves. And so what it might be is you might go with 7 wide receivers and then make a couple of more moves depending on who gets cut, and then you can bring someone in. So you like what you've seen by some of those young wide receivers. And again, I think a few of them did step up against Denver, but it might be 7 wide receivers, and that might last a day until you go out and you pick someone up who's been cut, or again, you keep them on the roster because you've got that pup situation. So they could definitely go that direction, but I think a lot depends on where they go from a tight end standpoint as well.
Not all the time it doesn't happen, but sometimes we get it maybe a little bit of a surprise cut, like, oh, dang, they actually moved on from that guy. I'm surprised. Is there a guy that pops to the top of your mind when you think about a potential surprise cut for Green Bay on Sunday?
You know what? I wouldn't say a cut, but it wouldn't surprise me if Green Bay ends up moving Tyrod Taylor. And again, with how Kyle McCord has played this preseason, that would not surprise me if Green Bay decides to deal Tyrod Taylor. I don't think Tyrod Taylor gets cut, but I think if there's a team out there that's willing to give something up to Green Bay, you could see him on the move. Another guy that I think Green Bay could potentially move could be a Carl Brooks type of a player. So, and I don't see him being cut necessarily, but he could be a guy that if there's some interest there, you could certainly see maybe him being traded. But as far as surprise cuts outright, I just don't see it. I think for the most part, this roster is pretty much already set. I think it's the fringe positions that are being fought for right now. But as far as any guys on the roster that stand out that, wow, I'm surprising they cut him, I just don't see it this year.
What is the position group that you think is going to be the toughest decision for Goody, the coaching staff, to try to dwindle down on Sunday?
I think it's that defensive line, surprisingly. You've got a Stackhouse and a Campbell who right now, when you look at the depth chart, they're running with the threes. And those guys, especially Campbell, he has really shown and flashed. So I think, you've got some guys there that I think can play. And I think Green Bay, surprisingly, again, has good depth there. So that might be a tough call. And you mentioned the wide receivers. There's some guys, again, talking about a Will Shepherd, a Nayor, those kind of guys. Those could be tough decisions. And again, you look at it and say, can we sneak him back on the practice squad? And with some of those guys, it's probably going to be hard. So I would say that defensive line and then that wide receiver room are going to be probably the toughest decisions for Goody and his staff. How
much better do you feel about Trey Smack in the kicking situation?
A lot. This is a guy that when the lights go on, he performs. And you look at what he's done actually, even in practice since family night, it's impressive. It's impressive, and he seems to be very even keel. And obviously, we've seen the big leg, and I think Green Bay isn't going to be bashful to bring that out during the season. And so, much more confident, feeling a lot better. I know you and I talked, and it was been reported that early on in camp, it got to the point where LaFleur didn't even want the refs signaling good or no good from a field goal standpoint. And so, but you see him kicking games, and it's just a smooth operation. And that's what's most impressive about that, truly, is the fact that Matt Orzech has not been the long snapper. And so you don't even have what you considered going into the year as your number one operation with Trey Smack. So, yeah, feeling much better about that draft choice, feeling good about the return game with Sky Moore and what we've seen there. And actually, interestingly enough, that running back situation, Pierre Strong, like to see him back there as well. So I'm feeling better overall about Green Bay's special teams operations, and obviously Trey Smack is kind of the headline there.
All right, before I let you go, give me maybe a player that you think just balls out this week or surprises this week and makes the team.
I think Kamal Hadden. I think he has stepped up, and I think he has put himself squarely on the radar to not only make this football team, but I think he actually gets reps. And they're playing him in the slot in that nickelback position. And again, you're seeing some players rotate through there, but I think he's a guy that not only makes this team, but I think he actually makes the two deep, and you're going to see him on the field this fall.
All right, Joe DeGuano joining us, chatting some green and gold. We appreciate the time, sir. Enjoy the rest of the week, and next week when we chat with you, we'll take a look at this 53-man roster and break it all down with you.
I can't wait, Dan. We are almost there, and almost the regular season. best time of the year. Looking forward to it, brother.
You have a good rest of your week, dude, and we'll catch up soon, okay, sir?
All right, Dan, take care.
You got it. There you go. There's Joe DeGuano joining us here this morning. Hey, we got to take a quick break. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. Fall sports are in full swing here across the Chippewa Valley, from Friday night football to volleyball, soccer, cross country. Athletes are competing and giving it their all. But when injuries happen, getting the right care matters. Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine specializes in helping athletes getting back into the game with expert orthopedic care, sports medicine, and treatment that you can trust. Whether you are a high school athlete or a weekend warrior, their team is here to help keep you moving. Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, your partner in staying active, healthy, and in the game. Coming up just past 8 o'clock here this morning, we'll catch up with Ty from Slab Factory for our bi-weekly chats on the card hobby. So, hey, if you have any questions, got any questions for Ty regarding card collecting, there's no such thing as a stupid question. Even though I think I ask stupid questions sometimes, there is no such thing as a stupid question. Please send them on over, okay? Ty wants to answer that. Ty wants to help you out. Text them on over, 715-830-1912, or you can send them on over to that Section 105 chats. All right, Section 105 chats on our YouTube or Facebook video stream. So we'll get to Ty coming up just past 8 o'clock. It is a What If Wednesday, so if you have any what ifs, you can send those on over, some good what-if scenarios. Also, what are we doing here? Bo says, what are we doing here? WNBA and college football. So, yeah, I figured college would be it's not even just college football. We're seeing it in basketball, too. But, what else do we got here? Yeah, just kind of going through some of the messages. Definitely, I'll just kind of lump it all up into one for a lot of you. What are we doing here? College sports with the whole pros going back to the college level. So I'll just kind of, yeah. So SEC now draws a rule to stop NFL and NBA and WNBA players from returning. And we know the Big Ten. Yesterday we talked a little bit about it. But in a Big Ten, I think it was just the NFL one. I'm sure it'll expand more. But SEC, with a step-by-step explanation, the SEC announced its institutions are not permitted to have an athlete on its roster who has previously declared for the NFL, NBA, or WNBA draft and did not appropriately withdraw, signed a contract with an NFL or other professional football league, NBA, G League, or WNBA or affiliate team. Been listed on an NFL or other professional football league, NBA, G League, or WNBA roster. The SEC joined the Big Ten on Tuesday in its unanimous opposition to athletes leaving the NFL and returning to college teams, swiftly passing a new conference rule that gives Commissioner Greg Sankey full authority to enforce it with penalties. Does that mean... Okay, so here's the thing, though, too. We're going to see this go back to court probably. Right? We're probably going to see this go back to court. So, just read the fundamental principle of the NCAA eligibility has been called into question again this month. This is from ESPN, following a flurry of news about Daquan Wright, who hoped to clear waivers with the Browns so he could return to college to play for LSU in what would be his fifth season of college eligibility. Wright's highly publicized situation is unprecedented, but it stood to become part of a trend this year because of an ongoing legal fight between the NCAA and athletes who are pursuing a fifth year. Wright dressed for the Browns preseason game against the Bills, but did not play. He was waived Monday and went unclaimed. He is currently available in the NCAA transfer portal after a judge in Louisiana granted him a temporary restraining order and an opportunity to return to college for a fifth year. Another athlete, star basketball player R.J. Lewis Jr., received a temporary injunction to play for LSU this season from a Louisiana judge on Monday, despite signing multiple NBA contracts. So, This isn't the end, though. This isn't the end. We're going to keep going. It's going to continue to blur the line, and honestly, it's probably going to go for a while here. But all right, we got to take a quick break because we're a little behind here. So we'll wrap up the second hour. We're already approaching halftime, man. Cruising on through. We're halfway through the program, halfway through the work week. How about that? All right. We'll be right back in just a couple minutes. School is back in session, and that means the family schedule is back in full swing. School drop-offs, practices, games, activities, and all those miles in between can put plenty of wear and tear on your vehicle. Before your busy fall schedule gets too crazy, make sure your vehicle is ready to go. Bring it to AJM Automotive in Eau Claire for the service and repairs that you can count on. From routine maintenance to keeping your vehicle running right, AJM Automotive is here to help keep you and your family moving. School is back, life is busy, so make sure your vehicle is ready with the help from AJM Automotive. And to make things just a little bit easier, because that's what AJM Automotive is all about, is customer service. How about this? I just saw this on Facebook. They're announcing the launch of their full-service mobile department. Monday, August 31st, it's coming. Next Monday, all right? They'll be able to provide on-site oil changes, battery replacements, brake services. They anticipate expanding their service offerings as they progress. So if you want to inquire more, you can reach out to them. You can also check out their website. So what a cool thing AJM Automotive is doing, too. Announcing their full-service mobile department, making it easier for you to get the service that you need for your vehicle. All right. We only got about 5 minutes left to the top. So, again, we'll kick off the third hour here, chatting with Ty from Slab Factory. So, we'll I'm not sure what go big or go home means, but we'll chat with Ty from Slab Factory coming up here. So, final call for any questions that you may have for Ty in the card collecting world. Please text those on over to the Shoe Doctors bullpen line at 715-830-1912. We'll get back to some Brewers talk as we preview Game 2 of this series between the Mets. Brewers looking to bounce back after last night's 3-2 loss in extra innings. Dustin May also looking to bounce back from his previous start. That'll be at 6:10 tonight. You can listen to that game on your radio dials, 105.1 FM, 790 AM. Pre-game coverage starts 35 minutes prior, so about 5:35 this evening. Packers joint practice today, essentially the end of training camp after today. They'll have the final preseason game this Friday, and then roster cut downs coming up Sunday. So it's hot and heavy, man. Going to be here before you know it. Was it 2 weeks from today is when the NFL opens up with that Wednesday Australia game, 49ers-Rams? So, yeah, 2 weeks from today it opens up. Holy cow. Ugh. 2 weeks from this Sunday is when the Pack get going. Minnesota. After Friday, we're on to Minnesota. Think about that. We're on to Minnesota after Friday. They're already kind of focusing on Minnesota here a little bit, but kind of doing some little scouting and all that fun stuff. But, yeah, so we'll talk some more green and gold, talk some Pack coming up in the final couple of hours here, too. But I'm curious, just kind of an informal poll, because in the first hour we talked about Pat Murphy benching Cooper Pratt. What were your thoughts on it? Try to take the hindsight out of it, okay? I know the David Hamilton play at the end. A lot of people go in hindsight 2020. If Cooper Pratt was in there, then maybe it doesn't happen because Joey Ortiz is playing third base. But given a situation, and given Pat Murphy's reasonings and hearing from Cooper Pratt himself, right call by Pat Murphy? Do you kind of give him like, okay, that's a good manager there? Or you're like, yeah, maybe a little too extreme. Where are you on that? try to take away, again, the hindsight 2020 of the final play of what happened last night defensively. Try to take that away. Okay, I know it might be hard. But try to ignore what that wide throw from David Hamilton. And it looks like a few of you saying you agree with Pat Murphy. And does Pat Murphy get the benefit of the doubt because of what he has done as manager for the Brewers for these last couple of years? He's won a lot of games, right? Won a lot of games. So let me know your thoughts. Love to hear from you. It's kind of an informal poll question that we'll have out there. So you can text that again, 715-830-1912, or hang out in the Section 105 chat room and give me your takes. Mark says, give the speech, Murph. Will one of you guys grow blank and get up there and get a big hit and drive in some runs for us? Got to do like the Bull Durham one. Throw the bats into showers. You see the ball. You hit the ball. Right? But, all right. Shot clock's going to cut me off. We got some news updates, and we'll be back to kick off the third quarter. The third quarter, we're halfway through this work week. We'll be right back in just a couple minutes.